Yep. Good morning, all. So I'm Deepak here. So I came to present a webinar on the topic of demystifying HR interviews. Uh, so it's like major crowd which I thought of addressing people towards freshers, and most of the people have approached me through LinkedIn and through other networks and all regarding the current situation and various questions on HR interviews, how to approach and how to handle those tricky questions during HR interviews, or how to prepare ourselves before appearing for interviews and all. So I had a previous seen a previous session which been conducted by GUVi on top 5 service-based companies and what are all the interview process and all. So in my session, I gonna say about do's and don'ts about the interviews, and what the organization expect really from a candidate on an organizational perspective, and how the candidate needs to prepare before attending an interview. So these are all the main objectives, takeaways from my session. So hope you all can hear me. So in case if there is any doubts or any disturbances happening in between and all, so just put on all your questions through chat. I'll try to answer all those. And apart from this, I plan for a Q&A session at last of my presentation as well. So let me start then. So before starting, I just thought of wishing you a very happy Tamil New Year today. And we just got an information from our Honorable Prime Minister that our lockdown got extended till May 3. Okay, so stay safe and stay indoors. So so the next as per the session. So the first thing I going to say is about lots of freshers have raised a question that because of the pandemic situation, whether will it be impacting our job opportunities and all. And I want to say an important thing that when the year starts, right, 2020, lots of the service-based companies which used to hire thousands of freshers, they have shared lots of news to leading financial finance newspapers and all. The main thing you can see in my slide where Cognizant, Infosys, Capgemini, lots of service-based companies are ready to hire freshers. Even to say frankly, once the pandemic situation gets over, most of the company will target to hire lots of freshers first of all, more than experienced people, to strengthen their bench resource. Maybe there might be a hold on project which the company going to receive from the clients and all. So the first thing, most of the organization, the first objective is to strengthen their bench resource. So their first target is to hire freshers. So my kind advice that no, none of the freshers need to get panic about the current situation and also prepare your skill set and prepare well on the interview aspects or what the organizational expects and all, so you can crack the interviews ahead. Okay. And you can see all the news clippings which I've included in the slide. So the main objective of this session, as I said already, I gonna talk about how we're gonna prepare for the HR interviews and what is really important to prepare on an HR interviews and all, and what is really HR importantly an organization expect from each freshers. So and how to tackle HR questions. And there is two kind of a skill set actually. One is on a technical knowledge and another one is on a behavioral, which is more on an HR aspects. So technical knowledge, most of the things will be covered in technical interviews, where the most of the people will have first round of an online test, technical online test, or maybe a technical interview, face-to-face interview. So next, if all the students going to clear up all those technical interviews and all, they're going to have the final HR discussion, right? So I going to speak about those. Is it really worth? Is it really important to focus on to prepare on an HR interviews and all? And how much the communication plays a vital role in the whole interview process. So these are all the concepts which I thought of answering or covering it up. Yeah. So the first thing, before touching up the core key takeaways, I'd say I will see the do's and don'ts actually. So first we're gonna see the do's, which gonna create a positive impression to the whole organization, or at least the interview process and all. So I'll tell all the points based on the scenarios which I seen, which most of the freshers used to follow during interviews and all. So that on like the punctual basis, where I request all the freshers to be on time to on as per the interview schedule which you all going to receive, right? At least 10 to 15 minutes before the exact time which you all receive, because every interview process will start as per the schedules. Okay, so if you're going to like be late, or if you're going to postpone the interviews and all, obviously you like there is a lot of chances in missing an opportunity. And I've seen a case in my current organization where some freshers, they don't see the importance of getting an interview for a fresher candidate actually. The reason is, most like there are lots of freshers who are seeking out for a job, and it's really hard to get an interview schedule first of all. So if you are receiving an interview call or a call letter from a leading company, or maybe a service based company or a product based company, whichever it is, kindly make sure to get turned out 90 or 95%. If in case of any emergency reasons, you can drop off. Other than that, please try to make it up, and opportunity comes only once. So where I've seen a scenario where there was close to 5 to 10 students actually, where they came the next day of the interview schedule which we shared, and all the people were asking, can you able to like accommodate us for the interview process and all. And just think of how come an organization can accommodate students if they're going to come the next day or the next week and all. So most of the fresher positions, the companies used to close at least within a day, or within a couple of days. Okay, so the kind request, please make sure of making it like making up for the interviews on the same schedule which the company going to share. Okay. And the next thing is dress etiquette. So these are all the basic interview etiquettes which to be followed by all the people, experience or freshers, whomever may be. It's all the basic things which all the people needs to follow for on an interview. So next thing is on the business formals, like dress etiquette for the interviews. For the freshers especially, please avoid wearing casual dresses, or maybe kind of a t-shirt or jean and all. So please make sure of wearing business formals for each of the interviews which you're going to appear for. So I would say there is a proverb in Tamil actually, where the appearance which will give an impression, like appearance takes up the 50% of the impression more than what we perform in the interviews. So like all padi adai padi, that's the Tamil proverb actually. So just make sure of the neat wardrobe which you're going to wear through. And these are all the maybe simple things, but each of the interview persons, hiring manager or HR manager, will make note of each things actually. Okay. And next thing is, if you're gonna use your mobile phones and all, please make sure of switching off, or at least turning into silent mode. So most of the companies are nowadays not allowing the people to, like outsiders, to take up their mobile phones inside their office and all. If they allow, please make sure of putting it in the silent. Because obviously if an hiring manager or a technical panel going to explain some scenarios or on an interview process, none of the people none of the people don't like kind of people who gets an call, or maybe a message notification in between the interviews and all. Okay, please avoid those scenarios. And next thing is greeting everyone, or how we going to present on like to before every interview panels and all. So try to be more presentable before all the interview panels or HR persons. And be so enthusiastic, and please make sure enthusiastic never turns to be overconfident. Okay, so whichever the questions you're going to answer, please make sure of telling it in a respectable way. And approachability, it's more of a concern. Please make sure of choosing the words before you communicate during the interview process and all. And please to be make sure to be honest during the interview process. Because if like I've seen some persons, like I've seen some students during interviews, even they are not aware of some technical skill set and all, but they used to say yes for all the questions. But if the technical panel is going to question you on a coding part, or maybe on a specific skill sets and all, if you're not aware, please say to them upfront that you're not very much very much skilled on, or maybe not much to the extent and all on the skill set which they are seeking for. Because it's really worth it enough to say no instead of yes to all the questions, all the interview questions. And even if I gonna say no to the technical panels, right, and I gonna say I'm ready to learn and all, it shows my flexibility or my learning thrive to the interview process, which most of the people likes it way actually. So please make sure of telling no, or try to avoid uh, telling yes to all the technical questions even you're not aware of. Okay. And basic thing which I used to follow, try to incorporate telling more of a lively examples during interviews. For example, you would have done some project internships, or maybe final year projects in some of the leading companies, or you would have won some kind of awards or appreciation during symposiums. Maybe from any of corporate, you received an appreciation or award during your college days and all. Please make sure of incorporating those things more than telling all those things which you already mentioned in the resume. If you're going to incorporate more lively examples, right, people really like to know about more than what you mentioned in the resume. Okay. Please make sure of keeping your resume more crispy, and try not to put all the things in the resume. Try to explain more during the interview process, which will make the interviews lively. Okay, which will be more comfortable for you as well. And at the last, this is the question which I received on LinkedIn. Most of the persons during all the technical interviews and HR interviews, right, the last question the interviewer or HR person going to ask you, do you have any queries or clarifications further? This is the question they ask. They asked me, is it mandate that we need to ask a question at last? So the logic of asking the question at last, the main reason is it shows your interest or enthusiasm to know more about the company or more about the role actually. If a candidate or a person during the interview process, it's not if they are not going to ask any questions at the end of the interviews, right, it's inappropriately says the way that they are in a moment of wrapping up the interviews. They are no more in a phase of they are not so into to further to continue the further communication on the interviews which they are into. So please make sure of asking any questions. For example, most of the interviews are like I used to ask what is the exact roles and responsibilities I going to do in the current position which I came for. Or maybe you can ask for the company history, like how far the company built, and what is the forecast for the next 5 years. It's all shows how into, or how interested you are joining, interested in joining with the organization. Okay. And next thing is the important thing, which are all don'ts. Please avoid doing all those things during an interview process. I've met some people during interview process try to avoid using high fragrance perfumes, because high order, right, which creates more of an unease during interview process. Most of the technical panels used to say after they are done with the interviews. So please, the students who are going to appear for interviews maybe after 3 to 4 months, please make sure of avoiding it. And while waiting in the resume, or so in the reception, or maybe in a lobby, right, all the freshers going to wait and all. Please avoid being lethargic. If you're going to clear first level, second level and all, some of the students I've seen, they used to be more lethargic before attending HR interviews. They would have cleared up 2 to 3 interviews, right? So most of the some of the students used to be so lethargic, or sitting so casually in the reception hall, or maybe in the lobby and all. So it's really matters where while calling up for the interviews, right? Like the people going to call you into a room or into a meeting room for the HR interviews, people make note of how the candidate into, or how the candidate getting ready for the next level of interviews. Okay. And as I said, like in the previous slide, I would have said you right, enthusiasm never to be turned into overconfident or arrogant during answering for the questions which they ask for. If you're not aware of some skill set, please stop arguing, or please try to be ready to say no for the questions which you are not aware of. None of the person going to shout at you if you're not aware of the questions they ask for. So please don't try to be overconfident, or not try to be arrogant while answering or explaining answers, like coding part, or maybe explaining the technical stuff which you've been trained and all. Okay. And yeah, it's a common advice which I used to give for all the freshers. The main thing is, it's just an another interview. Okay. Like, oh, you obviously freshers, most of the freshers used to attend 5 to 10 interviews at a series of time period. So it's just an another interview which you going to appear for. So there is nothing to be scary or nervous while presenting yourself. Just be bold and just be try to be more honest while answering the questions, whichever the questions maybe. During HR interviews, if they're going to ask you, tell me about yourself, right? Please make sure of answering, give to try to give honest answers. Like, don't try to overdo, or don't try to give fancy answers and all. People don't expect fancy answers. People like the persons who are giving lively examples, and who are all giving the real answers and all, like the not trying to overdo, or not trying to give false examples and all. Okay. And I've seen on the and the next point is, avoid discussing controversial topics during interviews. The main thing which I want to add you is, during the group discussions, or maybe a gang of students who are waiting in the receptions and all, they obviously they're going to have some discussions, right? And during the group discussion, even if the company gives you a topic based on the government, or maybe a government plan and all, please avoid like incorporating controversial things within the group discussions. None of the organization appreciate those stuffs and all. Okay. So the people who tries to overdo, or tries to showcase that they are aware of all the political parties, or they are much aware of the political knowledge and all, it's nothing matters, because this is not the stuff what the company expects. For example, if they're going to ask about the recent budget and all, right? The budget what the central government passed recently, they have passed new tax regime and old tax regime. So if you're going to talk only about the tax structures and the benefits what the company provides, there is nothing to do with you're going to criticize the government for imposing the new budget, or criticizing an individual, for example, criticizing through naming a minister, or prime minister sort of. Please avoid trying these kind of controversial things during group discussions, or even during interviews as well. Okay. And the important thing next, how, like, why is preparing for the HR interviews is more important, and what does really every company, each HR and the organization expects during interviews and all. Okay. So I would say, if I'm a person who I going to appear for the interviews, right? I'm done with the first level of 3 to 5 interview levels and all. It's not that it's so easy to crack HR round. It's just going to be not going, it's not just going to be a simple round. I going to explain about just about my family background and just about me, and I going to show my resume, they're going to offer job. It's not the case. You going to literally sell yourself with your skill set, and what you are, and what you're really unique about. Okay. So HR round is more of a selling point. So each person have their own USP, unique selling point. So try to develop those unique selling point. And during HR rounds, most of the HR managers or HR leaders used to cover the whole HR round psychologically. So most of the questions used to be on their personal note. For example, if they're going to ask about your family, or if they're going to ask about your personal achievements and all, don't try to overdo, or don't try to answer some fancy answers and all. Okay, please avoid those things. Please try to be more lively or more honest while answering. For example, this is the way I used to appear for interviews and all during my fresher time period. If they're going to ask me about tell me about yourself, right? I used to have my own order of answering, like telling up the things. For example, I used to say from the recent one. Like I completed my MBA during 2015. So during 2015, during fresher interviews and all, I used to say from 2015 I completed MBA, then BTech, then about my family, and what are all my personal achievements, hobbies, and what are all the symposiums I've done through, and what are all the personal achievements which I gone through in the last in my academic curriculum, in my UG and PG. And also, this is the way which I say, which I convey for. And some of the freshers used to say in the backward way. For example, they used to start it from their elementary sections and all. It's really hard to hear from your first standard till your PG. Okay, try to be more crispy enough, and try, like as I said already, try to incorporate more of a lively examples where, for example, during my MBA time period, right, I've done my internship, and I got placed through my internship as well. So where I'm a person who started working before my final year exams as well. Okay, so this is the unique thing which most of the students, which they not gone through, because most of the people used to start working after their university exams and all, right? This is a unique selling point which I used to say to all the interviewers during my interviews while appearing as a fresher. Okay, where while I'm saying that I started working before my university exams and all, they used to ask me, as a fresher, even you have not gone through your university exam, what do you really work in, yeah, during my internship with ITC? So they are really curious to know what I'm really do, like I would have done during my internship, or what I would have done as a fresher in ITC. So every person have their own unique selling point or unique experiences which they would have gone through, right? Try to incorporate those kind of examples while answering, telling about yourself. And next thing is, most of the people used to have a stereotype mindset where they used to think like, if I'm clearing up all the technical interviews and all, it's really easy to get through the HR round. Like, it's not the way the people thinks. Really, HR round is the final round, where that round decides whether you're going to get through, like you're going to get selected and get through the organization, or you getting rejected, or whichever may be. That's the final call. And as I said, it's a stereotype mindset that HR round is very easy, and if I'm technically sound, obviously I going to get selected in HR round. That doesn't matter. Most of the HR rounds, it's based on the behavioral and psychological questions. For example, if I'm technically sound, okay, but I'm not much familiar, or I'm not much strong on my communication, or maybe kind of interaction with my teammates and all, like team handling skills and all. Obviously it's a negative point, and it's a kind of a reason of getting rejected in the final round. that's the only chance each player gets chance to prove through. So try to put all your efforts in proving up in the next 3 hours of interview process and getting through. And that's the only, like, it's a single day chance. It's all about what you perform on the day. It's not that you prepared for the whole week or the whole month. And it's not like I'm not doing it as part of the best on that day. It's really matters that what I'm doing on the same day. So what you're doing on the interview process, it gonna reflect on your interview results then. Okay. And next thing I going to say is, every organization have their own expectation on freshers actually. So as I said already, there is a previous webinar conducted by one of the HR person from GUVi. So he explained all the expectation from each top 5 service based companies. If you have your time, just go through. So he explained all the questions, or how they conduct the interview process and all. Okay. So there is a difference between fresher hiring from service based companies and product based companies. Product based companies used to hire a minimal amount of freshers. For example, they used to hire 30 or 50 per year, and they're going to train them and put them into live projects immediately. Okay. So it's a product based company. In case of service based company, they have huge projects, and they're going to hire thousands of students in the whole financial year or calendar year, maybe 10,000 or 15,000, as I shown in the first slide, right? Cognizant going to hire 10,000 freshers in 2020 sort of. They're going to hire 10,000 students countrywide, and they're going to train each student as per their skill set or maybe the area of interest. Okay. And once they are getting well through, they're going to put them into projects, maybe after 3 months or maybe after 6 months. Okay. So each company have their own set of expectation. So try to go through the company website and try to read all the reviews about the company, or try to explore more about the company. What does really the company expects? Okay. Like I've seen lots of people during interviews, they would have prepared technically sound, but the HR person going to question that, what do you know really about the company? They just really sit blank, or they don't have any answers to reply back. So please don't do that. Before going for an interview, just try to explore about the company history, or just go through the company reviews, and try to explore the interview questions. Even you can see it in the glass door things and all. Most of the people have shared their interview experience about the companies. And also, if you have your time, just go through glass doors or any of the social forums. Get explored about the organization and the interview process, and what does they really expect from each of the candidate. It may be fresher or experience. uh, just get through those stuffs and all. And as I already said, it's not it doesn't matter that I'm a huge techie, that HR going to select without asking any questions. It doesn't matter. None of the companies or organization runs in that way. Even if I'm a huge techie and I'm not very much sound in functional, non-technical side. For example, I'm not much I'm not much sound in communication, or I'm not much sound in how to deal with the challenges within the team and all, right? I'm not much a kind of a team member. Obviously, it's all the negative aspects which are all in the way that I might get rejected. Okay. So how much time you going to spend on technical aspects, getting trained on Java, .NET, Python, whatever may be. Spend the same or equal time to prepare on non-functional things as well. Like, people used to get ready for JD, group discussions and all, right? Just try to get ready with your own answers. HR round it's not a kind of a stereotype, or it's not a formula based. For example, in the technical interviews, they might ask to write a code for code for a palindrome or sort of, right? But in HR interviews, it's not on a formula base. You can't repeat the answer what others said. Each- Hello, sorry. Yep, I think someone raised some. So I'll continue. So each person have their own experience or their own unique selling point, right? Try to write it down or try to prepare yourself at least 1 or 2 days before going for an interview, because you can't able to explain all the stuffs, all your personal stuffs on a flow during interview process, because sometime we might get stammered or we might get blank during interview process. So try to prepare or like even you can rehearse during telling the answers during the HR interviews at least 1 or 2 days before going interviews, which might really help you to get easily like crack the HR interviews very easily. Yeah. Yes. So next thing is what is the difference between technical knowledge and the behavioral knowledge? So there is a quote which I read through in LinkedIn. The major thing is there is a question among all the LinkedIn users. The question is, there is two persons in an organization. One is very much sound in technical aspects, where he can code through 24/7. He can resolve all the project queries or the client expect. He can meet up all the client expectation. He is really good at technical stuffs. Oh. And another person who is not who is good at technical aspects but not as far as the other person, but he's good at functional aspects like team handling or getting the team to do getting the job done from the team, kind of like a project lead sort of. So those are all the functional aspects. Behavioral aspects he have. So the question is, who will be getting selected by the organization for the next level of position, for example, maybe a delivery head or maybe a project head. That's the question. Lots of people, I think close to 100 comments were below. Close to 90 to 85 to 90 people have replied the number two person who's good at technical aspects but not part of the first person, but he's good at functional aspects like communication, team handling, getting the job done from the team. He's a great team member and all, right? He is the person who gets promoted to the next level of position. Okay. So the main thing of telling this thing is the importance of technical knowledge and the behavioral knowledge to be on an equal phase. It's not that I'm technically sound, I can crack all the interviews or I can get promoted easily. It's not the way. You need to be sound both technically and behaviorally as well. Yep. Yes. So next we're going to see like how how communication plays a vital role during interviews. So the main reason, it's a common answer what which most of the persons used to say during interviews and uh, all the IT companies works on their clients, US clients or European clients. Okay. So the common language used between the clients and the outsourced employees in India, IT employees in India, is going to be English. So obviously anyone who want to appear for interviews for any of the IT jobs in India, right? They must be familiar with the English language, and it doesn't matter that whichever the accent which you follow. Maybe some might be familiar with the US accent, maybe some might familiar with the UK accent. It doesn't matter. The only thing organization expect is a fresher need to articulate things and explaining the things which they know or which they got trained prior during the training phase and all. If they are very well enough in explaining things and which can be uh, grasped, right? Like which can be understandable by the other person, opposite person, it's enough. It's nothing to do with it's not the post of a communication expert or a trainer, communicational trainer. It's not the way. If you're really good enough in explaining things or articulating things, it's really good, and it's really enough to crack the interview process. Yes, the communication, it's really matters, but it's not the only thing you can crack up the interviews. It's all equally proportionate. Okay. Where you need to spend some time in developing you technically, and spending some time to developing your skills in some functional aspects like communication. your behavioral questions, and some psychological questions as about your family, or what kind of a challenges you came through all on your whole 18 or 19 years of your life, right? The questions may be what kind of a challenge you've gone through, and what is your personal achievements which you think more precious, which you achieved in your life history so far. And these are all the personal questions which defines a person. So the answers defines you actually. So please may try to come up with a unique answers. Please don't try to copy the answers what others say, because everyone have their own kind of a lifestyle, and they have their own kind of a like work style and all, right? Try to answer from your bottom of your heart, from bottom of your heart, which defines you purposefully. So every organization expect an real answer, maybe lively answers from each of the freshers who going to appear for interviews. And as I said, English is just a language, so articulating or explaining things properly, it's quite good enough. It's not that you need to be well versed, or you need to be talking in US or UK accent. It doesn't matter. Okay. Yes. So, like, I thought of incorporating some usual questions, usual psychological or maybe some behavioral questions, what usually the most of the companies used to ask for. So, as I said already, tell me about yourself, which most of the HR persons used to ask. So, try to arrange the order of telling up things before going for an interview. Some might be like comfortable in telling things from the recent stuffs. For example, you would have passed out in 2019 or 2018, right? If you're comfortable enough in telling up from the recent, just go ahead with it. It's not that you need to tell the things from your LKG or first standard and all. Okay. And if you're comfortable enough from telling up things from your schoolings, or maybe from your personal stuffs and all, just go ahead with. The only advice I would say is, please try to make the answer so crispy. Don't take more than 5 minutes in explaining. Tell me about yourself. Try to make it more crispy, and try to incorporate more lively examples, like you would have done some achievements in your project stuffs and all, right? You would have done some internships in some leading companies. Those sort of things needs to be incorporated in the tell me about yourself question. And then, why should I hire you? So it's more of a kind of a like a psychological and question which makes you to stress as well, stress your mind. So you need to justify the thing. Why should the company going to hire you? Obviously the organization would have invited you for the interviews. Okay. So that's not the only reason the organization needs to hire you, right? And it's like, I would say, a case study. Some of the students, or some of the professionals used to have their personal kind of a business, which may be running by their father, or maybe their brothers and all, right? If you have a personal business been running through by your family members and all, try to give a justifiable answer for why should I hire you. Because if you have a personal business already, and you're looking out for a job outside your family business, or kind of a corporate jobs and all, if you're going to seek for, try to be ready with a justifiable answer, not just a simple answer which people usually say, like, I'm interested in joining an IT company, and I'm really interested to work in a software job. Like, it's an usual template which people usually say in all the interviews. Okay. Try to come up with your own unique answers, which gonna be a selling point. As I said, HR round is literally a selling place, which you gonna sell yourself before a person who hires person for an organization. That's the only definition which I can give for HR interviews. So why should I hire you? Please come up with your unique or your own live answers, whichever may be. Don't think that whether it's going to work out or not. It's all going to be your own personal experiences which you're going to convey. Okay. And next thing is, what are your strength and weakness, and what are all your goals and all. Strength and weakness, try to be more honest telling your strength and weakness as well. And for the weakness and all, it's not that you need to put upfront that I'm lazy, or I'm not much capable in doing things on a timely basis. So don't put a negative kind of aspect while telling weakness and all. For example, I would say, like the question which I gone through during my fresher interviews and all, when people ask me what's your strength and weakness, to say I'm a timely person. Okay, so my answer gonna be, my strength is I used to be more punctual in doing things within the time given, within the timeline, what the company or maybe what the uh, my college given. So this is my huge strength. My weakness is, we usually have a kind of a gang of friends around, right? I expect even my friends or my project associates needs to follow the same timeline what I follow. It's my great weakness actually. My punctual, my punctuality, or my work style of doing things, I expect the same from my teammates as well. Okay, this is my weakness. So this is the answer which I see more of a justifiable way. So each person have their own kind of answers for strength and weakness and all. Okay, just come up with your own answers. So which needs to impress a person that who gonna hire you as well. Okay, and what are all your goals, and what are all your like short term or long term goals? So if they're going to ask you what are all your goals and all, try to brief it, like try to explain the answer more detailed actually. So first of all, bifurcate your goals as short term goals, long term goals, or what's your next 5 year plan. So try to say it lively that I'm in a plan of doing certifications, or I'm in a plan of coming up with my own Android app or my own iOS app in the next 5 years. And my long term goal is to come up, like I need to achieve those kind of a designation sort of. For example, I'm an HR person. So if you going to ask me what's your strength, like what's your goals and all, first of all I going to bifurcate my short term goal and my long term goal. So my short term goal is going to be to be an HRBP for a single business unit, which I going to take care of all my employees, all like end to end, as a single person. That's my short term goal, which I need to achieve in the next couple of years. That's going to be my short term goal. If you're going to ask me what's your long term goal, I want to be a CHRO, or maybe a HR leader for the whole organization, or maybe a whole conglomerate, a bigger organization. Okay, so like this, try to come up with your own answers. That first of all, bifurcate your goals with short term and long terms and all. Then come up with practical examples. Obviously people going to ask me, Deepak, you said you're going to become an HRBP in next 1 or 2 years, right? What are all the efforts, or what are all the plans you have in your hand to become an HRBP in the next 1 2 years? So immediately I need to answer back with my plans, what I going to implement in the next couple of years. Okay, so like these, obviously these questions you're going to face during HR interviews. Just come up with answers. You need to plan it before appearing interviews. You need to be pre-planned, like if this question gonna be asked by an person, this gonna be my answer. This is all you need to be prepared before appearing for the HR interviews. Okay, so next question, who who's your inspirational, or who's your role model sort of. Okay, so come up with your own sort of thing, where it can be any politician, or maybe any celebrity. Even it can be a personal family member. For example, maybe your mom, your dad, your brother, your uncle, whomever maybe. Just come up with your lively example. Try to avoid talking controversially while during inspiring things. For example, if you're going to say, I'm inspired by Dr. Manmohan Singh, you must not talk about his political career, or about his election campaign, or about the 5 year ruling things and all. You just going to say about his complete achievements, what he gone through his whole life, and what are all the what are all his educational qualification, or personal achievements, what he gone through in the last 10 years of his ruling phase. Those kind of answers you need to get through. You must not get into controversial topics. None of the organization appreciate those things. If you're going to get through, obviously they might engage in asking questions more about those controversial topics, but they're going to avoid all those persons in the final round of interviews. Okay. And next thing is, usually persons ask, how much salary do you expect? So on an overall industry standards, I would say, as per the industry standards, an average salary for the freshers by the top service based companies, and including product based companies, and including second tier, third tier IT firms and all, right, an average CTC the company providing is between 2.4 to 3 lakhs per annum. This is the average CTC what I'm telling about. Some of the companies might be on the higher end, but the average CTC lies between 2.5, maybe 2.5 till 3 lakhs per annum. And so if the question going to raise by an HR person, please try to know what is the exact industry standards or company standards before answering this question. Okay. If you're not familiar with the numbers or the exact figures, what is the statistics and all, please answer, just go ahead with as per your company standards, because each company have their own fresher salary standards and their expectations as well. Okay. If you're not familiar with the statistics, you can say upfront that I'm fine with your company standards. It's an answer which sorts out all the expectation from the company. Okay. Next question: if you're getting selected, how long will you stay with the organization? So this answer defines your survival of the fittest. All the questions, I like, these are all the sample set of questions which I thought of explaining you from my experiences which I gone through with the freshers. Okay. So apart from these set of questions, there are lots of psychological questions which you can go through from lots of HR sites, or maybe you can read it in Quora, or you can read it in Google, any of the Google sites as well. So these are all the sample set of questions and not the default set of questions which all the companies ask these 10 or 11 questions. Okay. So if you're getting selected, how long will you stay with an organization? So this is a question defines what is going to be a survival in the challenging situation which I going to get through in the next 6 months or 1 year. And if I'm getting promoted, or if I'm getting rewarded by the company in the next 1 year, right? How long will you stay with an organization defines my quality of ethical, like professional ethics, as a fresher. This is going to showcase your professional ethics. So try to be more frank that what's your personal plans. For example, if I have a plan of doing higher studies, maybe five after 5 years or 3 years, tell it upfront. Please don't try to avoid those things and all. Please tell upfront that I have a plan of doing higher studies after 5 years, through correspondence, or maybe some might have like a plan of doing higher studies by traveling abroad and all. Okay. Try to convey it frankly. There is nothing to there is nothing to hide and all. So you can be frank enough to answer these questions. And how long will you stay? If you have a plan of learning some most of the skill set, you're going to stay with the company for 5 years. If you have a plan such, just try to say the same answer what your mind says. Just go up with the same answer. Please don't try to overdo. I've seen some of the fresher people. They used to say, I'm in a plan of staying 10 years with the company. It's all the answers which is not mostly which is not more practical enough actually. Okay. So don't try to overdo, or don't try to give fancy answers. This is the major thing which I gone through a set of freshers in the recent years. They all try to give fancy answers to impress HR people. To say frankly, none of the HR persons expect fancy answers or expect people to impress them. They want people who are genuine enough, and who are really enthused to do, or really thriving to work, or thriving to get an opportunity and all. Okay. And the last question, do you have any questions for me? So most of the interview persons used to have the last question that do you going to ask me, or they will ask me like, Deepak, do you have any further questions to ask me and all? For sure, please try to ask even a simple question about their company history, maybe their market share, maybe try to ask about your roles and responsibilities if you're getting selected. Those kind of questions really makes us to feel that the candidate is really very interested in joining our organization. Some of the persons used to overdo with the fancy answers, like they used to ask directly that have I got am I shortlisted from this interview process and all. Please don't ask these kind of questions, okay? Obviously interview feedbacks will be conveyed to the candidate after some period of time. If you're attending up an interview by today, obviously you will be getting an feedback about the interviews maybe after a couple of days or after a week. It depends about the company. Okay, please don't ask directly an interview person that have I got shortlisted from the interview process and all. None of the person agrees to answer for this. Okay, you can ask this way, like, what are all the can you please help me with the improvement factor to improve myself on the technical skill set, or maybe on the communication? What do you really think that I need to improve further? So these kind of answers, which gives a positive impact on each candidate, like whichever the candidate answer these kind of positive note, right, which creates a positive vibe around the candidate, where even the person or technical person or an HR person really likes those answers. Yep. So these are all the like most of the questions which I thought of telling you for a sample basis. So please get through. There are lots of HR websites in Google, and there are lots of people asked questions through Quora as well. You can see the answers as well. So try to go through all those questions, or what are all the sample questions what most of the organization used to ask and all. So please try to go through all those things during your leisure time, so that it will be really helpful for you to tackle those logical questions before answering stuffs. Yep. Yep. So these are all the basic stuffs what I thought of explaining from my experience, from my HR experience. So thanks a lot for listening to me, for all my slides and all. So this is the time you can ask me any questions or any queries on how to approach interviews, or what are all the things to be prepared. Anything from your end, if you are really interested to ask for, just go ahead with. Even you can ask it through Teams as well, like the chat forum as well. Any questions on the chat box? We'll see. How to create an effective CV? This is the question I received from one of the attendee. So recent on the recent phase, right? All the resume formats been modified based on the millennials. So most of the crowds right now attending interviews are from the millennial crowd. So most of the resume formats have been changed from the from the traditional phase, where we used to have the tabular columns for all the things, right? For example, academic things and all our achievements, what we have done through, used to tablet all the things in the resume and all. We have lots of modern resume templates, which is free, which is free, available in Google. Even I've done through in recently, where I gone through some resume building webinar as well. There is lots of YouTube videos which is available to create a effective CV as well. If you have your time, you can go through. A simple advice which I can put you on creating an effective CV from the session, I would say, is please try to make your CV so crisp enough. Please don't go at more than 2 pages. Please try to incorporate all your achievements, all your educational details, all your personal stuffs within the 2 pages. Please don't try to go with 4 pages, 5 pages and all, because none of the person going to completely read 5 pages or 6 pages of resume. Okay, be crispy enough. Try to explain more things during interviews. Don't try to put all everything in the resume. Try to explain more things in during face to face interview, so that people will like to listen to you, so that it will be increasing your communication skills as well. If you're going to put all your things in the resume, right, people will say, I've put it in the resume, please read through. It's not that I gonna give you a brochure and you're going to read through the whole resume and you're going to get me a job. Not such case. Okay, be crispy enough. Try to put on your area of interest, achievements, all such sort of, and try to explain more through your vocabulary, so that it will showcase your communication skills and your how far you're good at explaining stuffs. Those are all the things. So thanks for the question. And if you have your time, just there are lots of videos available in YouTube, and even lots of resume templates available. It's free of cost. Just try to like design a modern one, so that it would be catchy as well. Okay. And I would say another point in creating resume, in the column of area of interest, right, please try to put the subject or the stuffs which you really very knowledgeable enough. Okay, please don't put some of the subject name or some of the technology which you are really not aware of. People obviously going to question from your resume that if you're going to put your areas of interest as Python. Okay, obviously people going to raise the questions based on Python. If you're not aware of Python, please don't put Python in the resume. Whichever the skill set which you really know, just put all those things in your resume. Please don't put things which you're not aware of or which you're not familiar with. Obviously questions gonna raise from your resume template. Okay, so this is the thing which I've seen in my recent experience with freshers as well. So any further questions? Anything else then? Yep. So that's the question I received. So then I'm showcasing my LinkedIn profile. So people who are really interested, or maybe you might have some queries after this session, or about approaching an interview, or how to like what are all the answers would be perfect enough for the logical questions which they're going to ask during interviews and all. Please approach me through my LinkedIn face. LinkedIn profile, you can see my LinkedIn profile. It's Deepak from Arunachalam. So I'm available throughout the day, to like for replying through LinkedIn and all. So whenever I'm free, I try to answer all your questions. So whichever you have it in your mind, maybe later the post to the session, this session, please message me with your questions and all. If like whenever I'm free, I'll try to answer all the questions which I gonna receive through. Yeah. Thanks, really thanks a lot to GUVi platform for giving me this wonderful opportunity, and special thanks to Anita, Harun, then Yogesh, who are all the people who facilitated me with like taking up this session and all. So really thanks a lot, guys. And kind advice. This is the pandemic situation. Yes, I know. So please make sure of utilizing it in a valuable way. So that once time goes, it never comes easy. So try to invest in doing up some online certifications, or try to do webinar. Try to attend more of a webinars technically, so that you can develop your skill set, and you can have your own unique selling point by learning stuffs in the next 1 month, or maybe in the next 3 weeks. Okay, so try to develop your skill set. Only your skill set matters. It's nothing matter with your personal stuffs and all. So unique selling point, I keep on stressing the thing, right? So company nowadays, company seeks for unique selling point. Each person have their own talent to come through. And another thing, I've read through a recent article through a newspaper, I think recent LinkedIn article actually. So maybe in a later 3 to 5 years, all the companies might hire freshers who are trained or skilled enough in particular skill set, maybe trained in artificial intelligence, trained in data science, trained in Python, trained in .NET, Java, whichever may be. So try to do certifications, or try to do kind of online courses and all. Try to develop your skill set. Try to showcase your profile unique from others. Okay, this is my kind advice. Maybe I think it will be really worthful for all the people who have attended through. Really thanks a lot. Thanks for this wonderful opportunity. So any queries and all, just approach me through LinkedIn. I'm really available. Like, I'm available for answering all the questions which you want to which you have in your mind post to the session. Yeah, thanks a lot for this opportunity. Thanks a lot, people. Yeah, I'm stopping my session. So any queries, just post your queries through my LinkedIn profile. Even you can refer your friends as well. Yeah, thanks a lot for attending my session, guys. All the best.